To one. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your great and glorious host, Patrick, here in the Pines in northern Arizona with a cup of fortified coffee. I'm joined today with the great and glorious Ed Bighead, also known as Lopez, Keegan, whose bachelor party almost killed us, and Pedro, who's here for moral support and great commentary. So, Lopez, I hear that you've got some questions for me before we get into the topic that's on everyone's mind.
So of course we all want to talk about, the no-no yesterday, but before the no-no yesterday, I was messaging you and we ended up talking on the phone. You're like, yeah, I got the recap tonight. And I was excited because your beer caps are great. But then I was like, well, did you hear who's pitching? And you were like, no, God, who is it? God, no, who is it? And I was like, some guy named Tyler Gilbert that we've never even heard of before. So I was thinking it's going to be like a Riley Smith start, or a Seth Frankoff start, or just some guy off the street that we needed to pitch. And so tell me, Patrick, going into your recap rituals, did you think you were going to go the whole game? Did you think it was going to be this amazing thing? I mean, because writing recaps is hard right now. And you hear a name like Tyler Gilbert that's never pitched before. What was going through your mind in the pre-recap?
Well, I was thinking to myself, it's going to be a shit game. I was thinking like it was going to be a long game because I was expecting the Padres to run up the score on us. So I was thinking in my mind those two things, and the third thing that Rachel was going to get super pissed off at me because we had dinner plans, and obviously if it was going to be a barn burner game where we lose by like 24-5, it was going to last all of 4 hours and it was going to suck. So yeah, I was kind of dreading the entire process.
Nice. Keegan, did you think kind of the same thing going into that game when you saw that it was Tyler Gilbert pitching? That what type of game was this going to be?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, it was a fun night of making fun of everybody on Twitter because everybody was ragging on Tyler Gilbert. So Steve Gilbert a couple days ago had announced he was brought up and everyone was like, Tyler Gilbert, who is this guy? And specifically Blake. I hope Blake watches this. And Blake called himself out on Twitter because he was like, Tyler Gilbert, who is this guy? And it's really refreshing because we've had you named a lot of dudes there, Seth Frankoff, Matt Peacock, and just who's this guy coming out of nowhere? Rule 5, AAA Rule 5 draft pick, just crushes it. It was great.
So before we got into the Bruteside chat today, Patrick, number one, you got a new car. And number two, you had the opportunity today to drive that new car off-road in an situation on I-17. What was that about?
So my wife and I got ourselves a Model Y Tesla, which is kind of a small SUV. And it's also an expensive SUV that we never want to go off-roading with. So we were going from Munns Park to Flagstaff early this morning to go to the farmer's market. And lo and behold, there is, I think it was a fatality wreck right before the airport there. So all of northbound I-17 was closed, like not moving at all. It was a parking lot. And we had just missed the exit when we had to stop. So we waited an hour and I'm like, I'm going to miss this Bruteside chat if we don't do something. So I was like, fuck it, we're going to take this thing off road, and we jumped the median with it. got on the southbound lane. And yeah, that's probably going to be the only time we take that thing off road. Unless I get it lifted and put some monster truck tires on it.
Nice. Well, glad you made it safe and glad we're doing this video.
Woohoo! So I'm going to start off with Pedro because Pedro's been very quiet right now. Now that we're kind of past all the fun topics, let's get into the super serious topics, which is also fun. Pedro, what do you think of that no-no last night?
Well, when I first heard about no-no last night, I found out that a no-no was pitching for us last night. Who knows, Tyler Gilbert? I was actually out having dinner, and when I found out about it in the seventh inning, and I asked the waiter at the restaurant to put on a Diamondbacks game, and I was talking to a couple people at the restaurant, and no one knew who was throwing our no-no. So that was kind of interesting, but I was happy for the guy. You know, he's been, late 20s now. So it took him a while to get into the actual MLB, but I was just happy for the guy. Like to see what his next year is going to be out next time around. But overall, I think had a good game. You know, the ball was hit hard, but had some good defense behind him, and let's give him credit. He still threw a no-no. It's not an easy thing to throw a no-no.
No, definitely not. Absolutely not. So Lopez, we're kind of describe to me your unfolding of the no-no.
Well, let's start first with Taiwan Walker was throwing a no-no against the Dodgers yesterday, and I was texting Keegan about it, and then immediately it got broken up, and the Dodgers ended up winning that game. So when I was listening to the Diamondbacks game, I was sure to just stay silent. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to text anybody. I didn't want to talk about it until it was done with. And then I started, of course, with the MLB app, getting the notifications that it's going into the 8th inning, and then now it's his final 3 outs and this and that. So again, I had to contain myself as best as I could. I didn't want to ruin it or jinx it. And then that 9th inning was like bam, 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 and all of a sudden the game's over, and the kid's first no hitter. I mean, his first career start, and then the no hitter at Chase Field. I mean, it was amazing. And my phone started blowing up. My son was calling me. I was texting, and everything was going crazy. It was just, I haven't felt that type of excitement with the Arizona Diamondbacks in quite a long time. And so it was a good feeling. And I mean, this guy Tyler Gilbert, I mean, what an amazing job he did last night. So props to him for that. That was great.
Big time props. Cheers to him. Keegan, so describe the Keegan household. What was going on? What happened?
So I'm watching John Wick. It was John Wick Marathon, chapter 1, 2, and 3, right before the game started. And I think John Wick chapter 3 was wrapping up right around when the game started. So I missed about the first inning or two, but I was watching on my phone. I was like, oh, Diamondbacks got a 5-0 lead in the bottom of the first. This is good. So once John Wick chapter 3 wrapped up, I threw it on the game. I had to run to the store to get stuff for dinner. So I flipped it to the radio, and you're just listening along. You're like, all right, cool. No hits through 3 through 4. I get back from the store at about the 4th or 5th inning. You're like, all right, he's still got a no hitter going. This is great. You're just kind of be anticipating it's going to get broken up in the 6th or the 7th. How many times have we seen that happen? So I'm grilling last night, getting everything ready to go and sitting down to eat. 7th inning, still got a no hitter. Finish up dinner, 8th inning, 3 pitches, 3 outs, still got a no hitter going. And you're just like, he's going to get it done. And I talked about it in Snake Bites too. Fortunately he did. And it's been a very difficult season. It's been hard for a lot of us to watch, and a lot of us have been casually watching lately, probably not as hardcore as we usually would. But last night was the first time since like April or May where I was just glued to the TV. I wanted it so bad for him. I was prepared. I love that his dad was there. I love that they kept showing his dad and his family in the stands. And it just it reminds you why you're in love with the sport of baseball, not even just the Diamondbacks in general, but just baseball. Because on any given night, something like that can happen. And sure, of course, that's only the 2nd or 3rd time that someone has ever thrown a no hitter in their first major league start. And you may not ever see it again. But if you're not watching, that stuff does happen. So it was a very cool moment. It really reminded me, hey, don't take that stuff every day for granted. Any day could be something special. And last night it was. He gave us an incredible memory that we'll never forget.
No, it was absolutely wild to be able to cover that in the recap. It's like you guys were saying, previously, like I've had so many bad recaps this year. We all have had so many bad recaps for the Snake Pit. And I remember, after the end of the first inning, I'm like, okay, cool. We got a 5-0 lead. This is fine. Tyler's playing with found money. whatever. And just like you, Keegan, I was expecting it to get broken up like any time, and really was shocked every inning after that when no, he just kept cruising. I think he allowed the one walk. I want to say there was another walk in there somewhere, but he was never in any trouble. There was never any like concern that like they were even catching up to him at all. And then Rachel and I went over to this dive bar nearby, and I had him turn on. I got to watch the last pitch, and it just ended like that. It was something magical. And what I loved is one of the guys on Twitter was posting that he's the fourth pitcher ever on his rookie start, his first start, to get a no. The first two being in 1892 and 1893. And they had some really colorful names I can't remember now. And then the last one being in 1953 for when the Cardinals were the St. Louis Browns. So it's insane that it's been like that long since that's happened. It was cool to be able to watch it and cover it. And I don't expect him to throw a no next time, especially when. And Keegan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Gilbert was only throwing in the low 90s, right? Like I think he was barely breaking 90.
Yeah, he was gassed. I said that in the ninth inning. He was gassed because his fastball was only hitting like 88, 89 miles an hour, and you could tell they were trying to stretch him across the line.
Yeah, but I mean, I was impressed, and I like I said, I don't expect to see that again. I don't expect him to be like a sub-3 ERA pitcher for the rest of the year. But wow, it was so cool to see that, and so cool to finally have something exciting to talk about with the Diamondbacks, even if it is kind of, it doesn't really matter at this point. So I know we've talked a lot about the no last night. I know we're going to keep talking about it for a while. We got like a month left of the month and a half left of the season. Is there anything any of you guys are looking kind of want to keep an eye on, like say Pavin Smith and how he keeps contributing? Barshow's hot. What are you guys like looking at? I'll start with you, Pedro.
Well, I like what Pavin Smith is doing. Hitting the ball well, there's really not a whole lot there to talk about with the other players, but I'm glad at least we have Smith out there. Hopefully we can see a little more contribution from Walker, but right now, is there any highlights I'd like to see about Diamondbacks? I'm really don't know much to say for the rest of the remaining of the year here, but I don't know what you guys thinking.
Well, Lopez, how about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Pavin Smith, I want to continue to watch him play. Obviously, Barshow's getting hot right now, as you were talking about. But, some of these guys that we didn't end up trading at the trade deadline that still have contracts with us next season, I'd like to see them, get a little bit hotter, obviously. I think I saw on the game day thread yesterday that Peralta's washed up and this and that. But he's going to be around next season, so let's see what he can do with the remainder of the year. Nick Ahmed too needs to get things going. But to be honest, I'm more curious to see what's going to happen tonight. I mean, the Diamondbacks are kind of on this on a winning streak, and something we haven't seen in a while. And then we had the no last night. I mean, we were even joking when we were playing dominoes earlier whether or not tonight's going to be a blowout, like we lose 24-3 or something like that, because will the luck last for us? So but it's pretty good right now. People are coming back healthy. Unfortunately, Cole Calhoun's out again, but for the remainder of the year, let's just put people out there and see if they can compete. And if they can't compete, then maybe they lose their spot next year.
Amen to that. Amen. All right, Keegan, what about you? You looks like you were trying to swat some flies or something earlier.
Fanning myself off. It feels like back east. It's so humid right now. What I'm watching at the end of the season. So, Patrick, a couple weeks back, you and I had that chat with Mike Farron, and we talked with Mike Farron about Dalton Varsho. And Farron told us, I was like, is Varsho going to stick behind the plate as a catcher because he's really having difficulty? And Farron brought up a good point. He's like, he's trying to learn to catch at the major league level, and he's trying to learn how to hit at the major league level as well as play as the outfield occasionally. And I think since the All-Star break, Dalton Varsho has an OPS over 1,000. I don't know the exact numbers. I saw it, but since All-Star break, his OPS is over 1,000, and he's been great, and he's got a lot of confidence right now. So I'm really happy to see that, because we were really big on him. And, you know, he's probably not going to maintain an OPS over 1,000, but if he's above 800 or 900, you take that all day.
Yep.
So now feeling a little bit more comfortable with him, I want to see Drew Ellis do the same thing, right? So Drew Ellis has been struggling in the major leagues, and I don't want to see people lose their patience with him. I say people, myself. I'm going to be really patient. I don't want to lose my patience with him. He's struggling right now, but let's see him like Pavin Smith. Give him time to figure it out. Don't put him on the bench. Don't put these other guys out there to take playing time away from him. Let's just see what he can do and see if he's going to be a more significant contributor next year. So guys like that, let's give them the playing time. We're playing for pride here at this point. You know, our record is what it is. So let's just give these guys who are going to be here next season as much playing time to figure it out at the major league level, and let's see what they can do.
I agree with you. And actually, Ellis had his first home run last night, which was good to see. I definitely agree with you, though. Like, it's time for the youth movement. We don't need to see Peralta out there on a regular basis. Cabrera doesn't need to be out there on a regular basis. Marte doesn't need to be playing center field anymore. Take them out of there. It's time to kind of mix things up. And I am happy that they're on kind of a hot streak. And it's really good to see some of the younger players do well, especially Varsho and Pavin, who are just hot as hell right now. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see some good things out of this. And that's really what the end of the year's in the rest of the year's like. It's like just looking at some of those younger guys and see how they're going to shape up. You know, see if, Gallen could kind of find some consistency, because he's the ace of the future. See if Bumgardner can be any kind of valuable going forward. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what sticks going to next year. And these next few weeks about finding out, what that's about. So switching gears, kind of away from baseball for a little bit. I know it's been raining a lot, and wanted to kind of get your guys' opinions. Do you enjoy this monsoon season, or is this a bad thing? Pedro, go first.
I actually enjoy it. The only thing I don't like is the humidity, but it's kind of nice to see, the wetness or the rain, whatever you want to call it. I actually grew up out in California, where I've seen a lot more rain, and this is probably one of the years that we've had some good rain. It's nice to open up the Acadia door and just listen to the rain all day long as I'm working from home. So it's nice. I like it. But this humidity, I could do without.
It's nice that Pedro's a great example of somebody who grew up in California, was born, and raised out there, and then moved to Arizona, but didn't bring his California team with him. I mean, he's a Diamondbacks fan. He's on the Brute squad. And more people from California need to follow that example, because they come out here and they're still a Dodger fan. Well, but if LA was that good and San Diego was that great, why aren't you living there? You know what I'm saying? So props to Pedro for, being a Diamondbacks fan, even though he was raised in California.
Thank you,
major props to Pedro. So Lopez, I know you have a very definitive opinion on the monsoons. What do you think?
Well, I'm in the landscaping business, so monsoon can be, good, or it could be bad. I mean, it could be good in the sense of, a tree fell over and that's a job, or that my weeds are growing crazy and that's a job for me. But it's also, my weeds are growing crazy and now I'm overbooked and overloaded. So, I mean, it can be a headache, or if it's raining during the day, you can't work outside. So that's kind of a headache too. So I'm split on it. I am very grateful that it has been raining lately. Seems like a couple years now that we haven't had significant rain. Obviously, it's cool to hear the locusts again, the cicadas out there making the noise and things like that. It makes me feel like nature maybe at least at that point is a little bit back to normal, considering the chaos that's happening with nature right now. So I like it for the most part, but when on the work side, it's difficult.
And Keegan, what about you?
So I have a pretty unique opinion on it too, different from landscape. So I'm trying to phrase this to where it'll make sense to people. I love import vehicles, import cars, a nice slammed, lowered car, modified, low to the ground. My car before my truck was like that. It was a Subaru WRX that I had it really low to the ground, and the air intake is down there. So fortunately now I don't have that car anymore. I have a truck. So I was coming home from the Cardinals game on Friday night after that torrential downpour. And the whole time in the truck, as I'm hitting these massive puddles, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I have this right now, because if I was in my lowered import, I'd be pulled over in a parking lot for hours waiting until not even the rain subsided, but the flooding and the puddles subsided too. So if you would have asked me this question about a year or two ago, I would have been a nervous wreck. I would have been worried that my car was damaged, but I'm glad that I have a truck now, so I don't have to worry about it. And on that same subject, so the High Home cameraman that we've had on the chat before, Ralph, is my next door neighbor. And I was texting him about the no-hitter last night. And I said, hey, were you at the game? What did you think? And he said, I actually wasn't at the game. My car got damaged in the rain. It took me 2 hours to get home, and I had to get it towed to the dealership. So I actually took the night off. I wasn't there. So just kind of like an aside there, basically, I don't mind it. I'm glad that I have a truck. If I had a car, I'd probably be a nervous wreck right now.
Yeah, I have to say that's one of the funny things, and I haven't tested it yet, and I don't want to, is now that I have this goofy space vehicle with a battery, I don't have to worry about flooding the engine because there is no engine. So if I wanted to, I could use it as a boat, but I won't.
Can we, hey, Keegan, you said you went to the Cardinals game the other day. That's interesting. I didn't even know the NFL was happening right now. And I know we don't like to talk about football too much, but it's weird.
Wait, hold on, Lopez.
Yeah.
I saw him wearing a different jersey though.
It was weird. It was like blue and silver and white. And he was like all proud to send us this picture. Like, I'm at the game, bros. And what jersey were you wearing, Keegan?
DC, I know you watch these videos. I was wearing my Cowboys jersey, and I will post the picture in the comments. I was there with my pops. My pop raised me and my two brothers as Cowboys fans. I was there supporting the Cowboys, and we lost a field goal at the end. So rub it in.
The Cowboys are essentially the Dodgers of the NFL.
Basically, you're not wrong.
Yeah, accurate statement. Yeah.
Hey,
Except unlike the Dodgers, they haven't won in, well, a minute.
Real quick, I have a question. So we got the National League West here. The Giants are up 4 games right now on the Dodgers, and San Diego is kind of sliding away. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 10 games out of the NL West. Now they still might have a wild card, but even that is getting kind of tight right now. So I wanted to see, who do you guys think is going to take the NL West? I mean, you think the Dodgers have the potential to come back with the surprising Giants team, or are the Giants just going to keep blowing everybody away? What do you guys think?
I think the Giants are just too hot right now. Everything's clicking with that team. Everything's working with that team. They just got a good thing going. Yes, the Dodgers could catch up, and that wouldn't surprise me terribly. The Giants just seem like that team right now. And I'd be shocked if they didn't make some noise in the playoffs, and I'd be even more shocked if they didn't if they didn't win the division. Though, like I said, it could happen.
What do you think, Pedro?
Well, I was talking to my son Diego the other day. I'd like to see the Giants win the division, just because I don't want to see the Dodgers win that division. But he seems to think that, hey. And he's probably right. The Dodgers have probably better talent when it comes to pitching. And every batter coming to the at-bat can possibly put the ball out in left or right field or even center field. But one thing that I've noticed, too, is the Dodgers have a hard time beating teams that are above 500, a good team. So if they're struggling beating those teams now, I'm hoping they're going to struggle throughout. And even if they make the playoffs, it's going to be a lot tougher because you're going to have good teams in the playoffs. But I definitely like to see the Giants win that division. The Diamondback can't win it, but definitely I'm not going to root the Dodgers on.
Gotcha.
Keegan, what do you think about that? Since the Diamondbacks obviously aren't going to win the division, do you think the Giants are going to win it, and do you care?
I do. You give me shit. I do care. My heart wants the Giants to win it, right? You know, anybody but the Dodgers. The Dodgers have dominated this division for the past decade, but my head tells me that the Dodgers will find a way to pull it out. I'm reminded of 2018, where the Dodgers got off to that god-awful start and the Diamondbacks were really hot. And then we collapsed in September, and all of a sudden the Dodgers won the division. So my heart wants the Giants. My head tells me that the Dodgers will find a way to figure it out and win the division.
We shall see, ladies and gentlemen. And then by the next time, probably sooner than that. In fact, I dare say most of our recaps going forward are going to really dial in on the playoffs, as well as any notable Diamondbacks news. So I just want to close and say thank you guys all for joining us. Keep rewatching that get out the replay. Watch that over and over again. Embrace that glory. Hopefully, we'll see more of it as the season ends here. Do you guys have any closing remarks or anything you guys want to say to our glorious audience?
Just go D-backs. Galen's about to pitch right now, so hopefully the Diamondbacks can get another win against the Padres. Let's go.
Let's keep those good feelings going, folks. We definitely would like to end the season on a high note. So love you guys. Thanks for joining us, Bruteside Chats. Check us out at azbruteside.com, azsnakepit.com. Keep drinking more beer and have yourself a fun-filled weekend. There we go.